Hi everyone, welcome back to the Life Coach Carmen channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about stress. And I wish this topic is really introduced to us when we're in school so that we understand what stress is all about. You hear the term a lot. Everybody talks about, oh, I'm stressed, right? And so the term almost gets so prevalent and at the same time muted at the same time, and I want to make sure that people understand what stress does to your body, what's happening when you're under stress, and how much consequences there are if you are under chronic stress. And I myself was burned out for a while back 10 years ago, and it has some huge consequences in my body, causing me to stop working and get me into a spiral state where I have to get myself out of. And in that process, the good news is that I could gain a lot of understanding of the science of stress and the psychological responses that your body has in relationship to stress. And I want to, in this video, break it down for all of us and share the knowledge and understanding I've gained over the years. And I actually really studied it in length when I was doing my life and health coaching program, because whether you know it or not, stress is the number one cause of a lot of the issues that we have in our body. So if you have issues that you are finding that it's happening, 99% of the time is because of stress. I am throwing out the outliers, but 99% of the time it's related to stress. So it's a hugely important topic. And I'm hoping that I can break it down to you in such a way that you can understand it better. I want to begin the number one point of stress is what stress is not. So stress is really not just a feeling. The term gets thrown around a lot. You hear everybody says, I'm stressed. So what is happening really when you are stressed? It's not just the sense that you feel, it's also a physiological response that can have consequences if it's left unchecked. As I mentioned, 99% of the health issues that we encounter in life it's related to stress, whether you know it or not. So the physiological responses itself necessarily are not bad. It's designed that we have a stress system inherently. It works, it protects us, it saves our lives, because the job of the brain is to detect danger and safety issues and external threats. So the perception of that is very, very important, because it will remove us from a threatful situations or help us get out of a dangerous scenario. So the design of perception and detection of threats in itself, it's a very healthy thing. The unhealthy thing is really, which I'll talk more about, is really the prolonged stressful situation that you find yourself in. Okay, so stress is not just a feeling, it's actually a real response that your body has designed to save your life and keep you alive. So let me break down the nervous system a little bit and at least give you an overview of what the nervous system is and what it does and how it manages our bodies and our lives. And so the overview of the nervous system is that it starts with the brain, goes down with the spinal cord, and it contains a bunch of nerves. It's really, if you look at it, it's a huge transportation system. It's like a network of freeways almost, right? And it's designed to flow. And if you're in a traffic jam, when there's backed up traffic, and that's when there are issues that's occurring in your body. So you want this traffic situation to flow. You want your nervous system to have these wires or freeways going up and down to be functioning in a very smooth, well-oiled way. Now, let's talk about the amygdala a little bit, okay? So as you can see, the amygdala, it's an organ in the brain, and it's like a set of antennas. All it does is it really wants to detect and scan and look out for, oh, there's a bear in my tent situation, or a cliff when I'm hiking situation. And it's a very, very healthy, normal thing, right? Because you don't want to fall asleep when you find yourself next to a cliff. You want to back up and be running away, from that situation instead of falling asleep. Or if you have a bear in your camping tent, classic example is you need to be able to stop sleeping, stop digesting, and you want to start running, or whatever you need to do to get out of that situation. So the job of the amygdala keeps us alive. It scans for threats and dangerous situations. And obviously, it affects the other glands. If it detects certain situation, it's going to bump up the cortisol, and it's going to stop or slow down the functions of everything else, so that your body will be focused on running, escaping, and you hear this a lot, fight or flight. So when your body is in fight or flight, everything else shuts down because of a reason, because it wants to restore and concentrate the energy of everything else and focus on whatever that's at hand. Okay, so that's a very high level understanding of the nervous system and the job of the amygdala and the importance of the perception of threats. Even though it increases the cortisol, which is a stress hormone, but it really is so that the rest of the bodily functions can be slowed down or shut down for the redirection of energy to focus on a certain task at hand. In this case, it'll be running away. So you hear the term fight or flight a lot, because when you're in fight or flight, essentially your cortisol is high, and that's because the body perceives a threatful situation. Now, the perception of it is the key word. Perception of the threat is everything. The bear, whether it's actually real in your tent or you're just imagining that there is a bear in your tent, the two create the same physiological response in your body. So whether you need to really run away, or you're imagining this bear and you're on your toes and imagine yourself like responding to it, creates the same actual physiological responses in your body. The body will respond identically to something that's real and something that is a perception, or whether it's actually imaginary. So I think it's important that you understand that, because a lot of clients that I speak to, they're actually just responding. The stress is responding to the imaginary bears or the perception of something imminent that's going to happen. And I think that explains a lot of the mental fatigue that we have, is because our brain doesn't stop imagining these threatful situations, or doesn't stop the perception of danger, whether it's real or not. So that brings us to the number 2 point of stress, is that stress is not supposed to be prolonged. So what does prolonged stress does to our body? Let's go back to the nervous system that we were talking about earlier, okay? Let me put on my glasses here. So the nervous system has many parts to it. And we're going to focus on what is called the autonomous nervous system side of things. And under autonomous nervous system, there are 2 parts. One is called the sympathetic division. The other is called the parasympathetic division. You may have heard of sympathetic being the fight or flight side of things. And the counter of that is relax and heal, or you hear rest and digest. So you can get the gist of it. One side is responsible for fight or flight when you're in a cliffhanger situation. And the other is when you are actually really safe, nesting, with your family, you're in a safe situation, everything is handy dandy, and your body is just completely chilled and carrying out the functions, the day-to-day functions in a very balanced manner, versus the fight or flight is to react, to respond, and do things that you don't normally do, like running how many miles away from threatening situations. So let's talk about these two, fight or flight versus the rest and digest. So these two operate on a toggle fashion. So if one side's on, the other side's off, and vice versa. They cannot be on at the same time. And so it's either on or off. If one is on, the other's off. When you're in fight or flight, what happens is that your digest and heal would be turned off. And for a reason, it's really for redirection of energy, right? So when your fight or flight is on, it focuses on potentially dangerous situations, and it's designed to be really short-lived. Okay, and that's the key. It's just really in those moments, in those seconds of the day that you're trying to run away, you're trying to do something, you're trying to react to a threatening situation. Since the body's designed to just have that side of things be really short-lived, if it's in a prolonged state, if you're in chronic prolonged stress, it really creates a lot of havoc in the body, because it's going to bump up all the stressful, toxic chemical in your body to be doing all these things. So what happens is that your digest and heal side of things would not be on all the time. And if it's in a prolonged fashion, it's going to affect your digest and heal side of things, right? Because digest and heal is really designed to be the natural state of human beings, okay? It's supposed to work in an orderly state, and that when it's coherent, when everything's coherent and orderly, your digest and heal, we would have no problems whatsoever, because all the bodily functions would have all these resources and energy dedicated to them be working properly. As a result, the chemicals and the signals throughout the body, or the traffic system, the nervous system that we see, would be in order, would be balanced. It would be, in a harmonic state. So fight or flight is designed to be short-lived. I think that's the key takeaway. And digest and heal is supposed to be the natural state of affair. So stress, it's healthy and it's fine so long as it's short-lived, and it's not supposed to be prolonged. So chronic stress is when people started seeing the body having symptoms, whether it is poor digestion or poor sleep or low immunity. All of these things are affected, because as we progress to point number 3 here, is that the symptoms of stress in the beginning wouldn't be that alarming, okay? You see little things showing up here and there. But if you are in a chronic stressful state where you're responding and reacting to whether it's imaginary or actual threatening situations, the cortisol being bumped up and having your fight or flight be on at all times, it's going to shut off your digest and heal, right? And as you can see the visual here, when you're under fight or flight, all the glands would be affected. Your pituitary glands would be off balance, and therefore having dry skin or weak bones, or cortisol imbalance because it's working with the adrenal glands. Your pineal gland, which controls the sleep-wake cycle, being off balance would affect your sleep, yeah? And then, of course, the thyroids would be off. And, back in the day, my T3s, T4s, TSH were completely out of sync because of that. And it affects a lot of women because, that's a big part of our cycle. And the thymus gland, being the gland that actually controls your immunity, will suffer. And so you will find that you have all sorts of immunity issues, whether it's autoimmune problems or just getting sick a lot, right? For me, it was autoimmune, and as it relates to also my digestive gland having leaky gut and having heartburn and etc. For me, the heartburn started as a big symptom in the beginning. And obviously when I went to the doctors, they just prescribed me these things. But obviously, if it's related to stress, if you go back to the root cause of things, you need to work on stress management and not taking these things just going to control the symptoms or whatnot. And then adrenal glands is a big part of it. If you have cortisol imbalance, if you have inflammation issues or blood pressure or metabolism, sleep issues, it's most likely related going back to the adrenal glands being out of sync. Because as you can see, if you're in fight or flight, all these glands will be affected. On the flip side of things, if you are in the natural state, which is calm, relaxed, your digest and heal mode will be in order and working properly. And so it will be, you'll be having the opposite of what I talked about. Everything is in balance, everything is in a coherent state. And so you won't have any big symptoms or any of the issues that I've talked about. So we want to be in digest and heal. We want to be in digest and heal. A lot of people find themselves falling into the fight or flight state a lot, and that's causing a lot of the digestion issues, metabolism, sleep, hormonal balance, immunity, inflammation, right? And so we need to switch the system to think that we're in digest and heal. Okay, so whether you're actually by the beach or you're actually watching a video of yourself by the beach will produce the same results, just as the threatening situations, whether it's perceived or actual for us, will produce the same physiological response. Same for you watching a video of being by the beach and listening to ocean waves and being calm and all that. So if you actually trick your brain to think that you're in a calming state, and hopefully it's actually really calming for you, then you can work on flipping yourself back to digest and heal more of the time. And that's what you want. It's really to get out of fight or flight and get back into digest and heal. So the symptoms of stress do creep up. It will start with just a little heartburn, a little sleep issue here and there, a little off-cycle hormonal things, right? A little cold here and there. But when you don't work on that in a timely fashion, get yourself out of the fight or flight mode and be in the digest and heal more of the time, it's gonna worsen. And so you want to be mindful of which side of the system you're in, because as you know, they're either on or off. Okay, one side's on, the other's off. It's not like they can be on at the same time. So because of that, you want to be off fight or flight and be on digest and heal. And I think that's the key point I want to drive at, is that not a lot of people understand the nervous system. The way it works is that when it comes to autonomous nervous system, it's either on or off. You know, you can't work on both at the same time because of energy preservation and resource redirection purpose. So since we're designed that way, once you understand this design, you can figure out how to flip yourself back to digest and heal. And so in my next video, I'm going to talk more about how to get yourself back into digest and heal throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year, so that you can return back to a coherent, harmonic state. If you have adrenal fatigue or any type of autoimmune or bigger issues, it's most likely related to stress. And so I want to help more folks with stress. Obviously, I talk about meditation a lot because that's the tool that I used to flip myself back to recovery and healing. But there are also other things that we can work on as well. So I hope you get something out of this video. I've wanted to do this video for a long time. I'm so glad I'm able to. Feel free to share, like, subscribe. In fact, turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. We'll be talking more about digest and heal, and I don't want you to miss it. So with that, I want to send you love and light, and I will see you in the next one.